This year, again, what we're thankful for is that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are on the job. Welcome to MOMocrats Chat, part of the Demcast family of podcasts. I'm Donna Schwartz Mills with Karoli of crooksandliars.com, and Aliza Worthington will be joining us soon. And Karoli, when I was writing my intro to today's podcast, I wanted to say hi from us vermin. Um,
Oh,
thought against it because you don't
yeah,
really
because
want to give that more legs than it already had.
yeah, don't reinforce the stupid and the ugly. I mean, this isn't just stupid. This is the intentional
Of
ugly is
course,
what it is.
of course.
Intentional fascism. Just another signal, this the sign when, they tell you who they are, believe them. Well, believe them. I
Yeah,
mean, this is everybody, shame on everybody who is empowering him. I'm sorry, but shame on them. Did they not have relatives that fought in World War II? Did they not have, people that have died because of this? Did they not have relatives and ancestors that immigrated here? I mean, shame on them for enabling him to feel comfortable calling people vermin in public on Veterans Day, no less.
yeah.
It's just
But he has just escalated the evil rhetoric over the last 8 years.
right. Right, and it's escalating again, and it's
Yeah,
exactly what, the
because
like
we've become desensitized to
right,
him, so he has to keep ramping it up to
right,
get that shock value and get that that beautiful free media, you
right.
know?
Yeah, but I think it's more than just ramping it up. I mean, it's not insincere ramping it up,
No,
right?
it's not.
He meant it when he said
No,
it.
he
It
does.
it's not it's like, well, maybe I could say something less than vermin and get away with it, but now I wanna say this because this is what, this is how I really feel. I mean,
Right,
he was just literally spitting
because
out the
he
words.
is a fascist,
Right.
and we should feel very comfortable using the F word.
Yeah,
He's
everybody.
talking about him and the MAGA movement.
Yeah. I
He
mean,
is
not just
an
us, everybody.
authoritarian, wannabe dictator, fascist,
Mhm.
and it is a five-alarm fire. We cannot allow him back in power.
No,
We cannot allow any of them to have the power, even the limited power that they have now.
right. At all. At all, period. End of discussion. And I will say that I think that the majority of people in this country also agree with this. This is not, I don't think this is debatable amongst most people. There is the 30% that are crazy. And then there's the rest of us who don't want fascism and who don't want totalitarianism and everything. And that's why they're working so hard on the evangelicals. That's what they're working on them real hard because they know that's the only hope they have for getting him elected. And I'm not sure that there's definitely a certain segment of evangelicals that will go with him, but the Venn diagram already overlaps, with
Right,
them.
right.
And broadening that circle, adding addition, bringing in more, I don't think is possible with this message. I just don't.
But they're doing everything they can to divide us, the opposition.
Yes, they are, and that's being pretty
And that's
successful.
pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
And in a week where Osama bin Laden was trending, um,
What was that?
that is that people who are younger than you and I are getting most of their news from TikTok.
Sigh. TikTok, the thing that shouldn't be, right? I mean,
TikTok
I
is
don't have
very
that app on my
intriguing.
phone because I don't want them. I just don't want them to do that shit. To I don't want to. First of all, I think we talked about this, right? I don't want to watch videos.
I
I
know
can
you and
watch
I.
whatever it is faster, right? So I don't want to sit there and like just kind of blindly scroll through videos. That's not interesting to me.
No, but for
But
the
apparently
younger
it is.
generations,
Yeah.
my daughter will sit down with me and start queuing up TikTok videos she wants me to watch.
Oh,
You know,
really?
for
They're,
entertainment.
they're good ones, probably, right?
Yeah,
Or
funny
cute
ones.
or whatever.
'Cause that's what people do it for entertainment, and this
Right.
other stuff slips in. And because I don't think so many younger people are seeking out news, you know?
Well, honestly, who can blame them? I mean,
Yeah.
the problem we have right now with the news is that it's it's not helpful. It's not informative. On any level. It's just like the stuff that I see is like either soft pedals and whitewashes what Trump is doing, right? Or
You
just
mean Donald Trump goes a different direction on Veterans Day?
that. That is
They had to
exactly what I'm
change that
talking about.
headline. They
Like,
had to
I'm
change
thinking to
that.
myself, "Oh, he goes in a different direction." Well, isn't that nice? If I didn't actually know what he said, I wouldn't have
Yeah,
read the article because why? And who gives a shit, right? I mean,
right?
and most young people, most, not all, but most don't have much use for Donald Trump. So, they're not going to read an article like that. But I mean,
But they also don't have much use for Joe Biden. When I see poll results that say that they question his mental acuity, I just and this will not go away. I mean, I didn't tell you about this. It was a conversation that we had with my oldest niece, who just she's in her mid 30s, and we were talking politics, her parents and us and her, while we're waiting for the plane. And she told us the disturbing thing that her libertarian leaning brother was RFK Jr. curious,
oh God.
and that she and the other girls in the family were, saying, you can't do that and why. But then my niece said, I know Joe Biden is creepy and all that. And we're all, what? What?
Where
And
did that
she
come from?
is a well informed, educated person. And she thinks he's creepy
Where did that come from? I mean, I don't get that. That's Fox News.
because of the reputation that comes from the right wing, the Tara, whatever her name, allegations, the allegations that he, hugs and kisses young women in ways that are inappropriate. And like her dad is like, he comes from a different generation.
It's true, he does.
He's just an old style politician.
Well, and that's really honestly, that's really it, is that he's, not young and wonderful like Obama was, right? I mean,
Right.
but I'll tell you what, I will take Joe Biden any day of the week right now, even over Obama, because he's got the knowledge, he's got
Yeah.
the history to be able to deal with this in a way that just the depth of knowledge that he has right now is what we need. And Fox News is trying to paint him as being senile and all that. He's fine. He went out there, he had a press conference, he did fine, right? The only thing that made Tony Blinken get a little was when he actually said that,
He is a dictator.
President Xi is a dictator,
And he
which
said
is
why he characterized him as such.
exactly. And he said did it on the spot. It's not like he had to go back and say it. He said he is because
So,
they have a different kind of government than we do.
Gareth and I were watching that, and we could see, live. We were watching that, and I'm going to Gareth. Oh no, Tony Blinken is just like, no, don't answer that. No.
no, whatever you do,
That's
don't
what
do that.
you do.
But he did, and he did actually, I felt like he did a pretty good job of,
We're getting pandas back.
I know, right?
That's
Panda.
right. I am so
And and
happy.
the
We're
big
getting them
story ahead of this APEC meeting was, "Boo-hoo, the pandas in Washington, D.C. went back to China, wham."
after 50 years.
I
No
know.
pandas.
No pandas, wham. And now we're
But
getting pandas, so
and what a difference a year makes.
yeah.
Because a year ago, China was on the offensive,
Mhm,
making deals with Russia,
mhm,
and Iran,
mhm.
and they have quietly been moving away from that
Yeah,
because right now their economy is
needs
kind
that.
of in free fall. They've had to devalue their currency,
Right.
whereas our economy, and this is for the Fox News people, our economy is the strongest in the world right now.
It's stronger than China's for the first time in decades.
That's right. And that is because of the policies of the Biden administration.
Exactly.
It is because of the bipartisan infrastructure bill,
Mhm.
which is creating jobs.
Yep,
It is because of the emphasis on strengthening labor
yep,
and taxing, going after rich tax cheats.
yep.
All the things that the Republicans
Hey,
want to, you know, I mean, last when they released the economic figures for the last month, prices were flat.
right. They went down point 0.1, I think,
Yeah,
but which is flat. I mean,
yeah,
it's and the thing that is the most encouraging about that is that the Fed said, you know what, we're not raising any interest rates, we're not doing anything. So that plays into the stronger,
yeah,
economic recovery right now that we want to have. That this reminds me a lot of when Bill Clinton was president and he, did what he did and the deficit cutting measures that he took and everything, which is obviously the next thing that's going to be on the plate
right, right.
and everything. But remember that when Bill Clinton left office, we were on track to have a surplus. We were
That's
on
right.
track to
That's
have
right.
no deficit. It was going to
That's
be
right.
a surplus and we were going to pay off the debt and it was going to be great. In fact, James Greenspan, is it, yeah, Green,
Alan
what the no, Greenspan,
Alan
Miss
Greenspan.
yeah, Alan, thank you. I know somebody named James. So, anyway, okay, so Alan Greenspan went in front of Congress and said, "The danger here is that if we pay off the national debt, we might have inflation." And I mean, it was like I will never forget this. It was like no matter what you did, you were going to be screwed, right? You pay off the national debt, it's bad. You pay, you have a deficit, it's bad. So it was,
All economics is voodoo
it
economics.
is
It's
voodoo,
the smartest thing George H.W. Bush ever coined was voodoo economics because
right?
it's all no matter what news that sounds good makes the markets go down, news that sounds bad makes the markets go up. However, this week when those inflation numbers came out, I mean, my 401k, my IRA gained back almost everything it lost so far this year.
Same. I was very
One
glad to see
in
it
one day,
in one day. Right. Yeah, I know. I was glad to see that too. It was like, I mean, I don't have a big one. So it's like when you lose money, you lose it.
you
You
lose
lose.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. So yeah, it was back and the thing is that I read something else today about how the Biden administration is making incentives for heat pumps under the
Which is
Inflation
great.
Reduction Act. Heat
Yeah.
pumps are great. They're
Yeah.
electric heat pumps, and they're doing it. He's doing it with the Defense Production Act, so to get them manufactured faster, so that for homes and businesses and buildings, so the buildings will still have to do the retrofit for them, but houses you can just install them. So I'm thinking, wow, that might be a good thing for us to have here.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
you
on
know,
my list.
yeah, right. So, he's doing two things at once, right? He's stimulating the economy and he's doing it with green friendly projects like heat pumps, electric heat pumps instead
Right.
of fossil fuel heat pumps. And it's really great. I mean, I think to myself that all the noise that we hear all the time, Trump this, Trump that, Biden's old, blah blah blah, does not overcome the economy. It just doesn't. So, oh look who's here.
Aliza, she made
Sorry.
it.
I'm really sorry, you
No need
guys.
to apologize. We've just been talking about how this year at Thanksgiving, what we are thankful for is
Oh,
President Biden and Kamala Harris being in charge of this country's foreign policy, economic policy, just
And economy.
and yes,
Yeah.
yeah, everything.
Everything. Right.
yeah.
So
That is for sure something to be thankful for.
it definitely is. And so when I hear a lot about how we had such prosperity when Trump was president and now we don't.
Did we though?
And everything, and I'm thinking to myself, what are you talking about? I mean, he everybody I guess forgets about the empty shelves, in the markets and all the,
Well, everybody forgets that we had a pandemic,
The
yeah,
pandemic.
except,
apparently.
except for the restrictions. The pandemic restrictions, they all remember. They don't remember the free fall that the economy was in. And they credit Trump with a burgeoning economy that you have to remember that he inherited from President Obama.
Yeah.
Right. I
You
know.
know,
So he and listen, this is the rule in general, right? Democrats fix the economy and Republicans fuck it up.
Yeah,
Every single
Republicans ruin it.
yeah,
it's not a new thing. It's been going on for ages and ages, over 100 years. Democrats fix it, Republicans screw it up every
yeah,
time.
yeah.
So
Tale
when
as
you
old as
hear
time.
all the chest beating, so just a little segue over to what the House of Representatives has been doing this week is pretty much nothing.
We've spent 15 minutes on what we are thankful for. Um, we should also be thankful that the government is not going to shut down at least
Yeah.
until after the first of the year.
So the reason this all came to pass, because I, have to follow this, and it
Yes.
is that they have actually had some spending bills come out of committee, but they can't. They're so full of crap in them by the time that
Right.
they go to the floor and then they start putting poison pills on it. This person gets $1 instead of their salary, and this, whatever. We're defending the FBI, whatever. And then Republicans cannot agree on it. They can't pass it because of these idiots. They keep putting poison pills on it. And so then this went on. Two bills were pulled from the floor. They couldn't get those passed. And so that's when Mike Johnson says, okay, we're going to do this, two-tier CR. Basically, these spending bills have to pass by January, and these spending bills have to pass by February.
It is
And
such a bad precedent
it's a terrible
because
precedent.
we're always going to be on the brink by
Yep.
breaking up the usual budgeting process this way.
Yes.
It's
By
not
making it a two-tiered process. Is that what you're saying?
they're going to have
Well,
different resolutions to cover different parts of the budget that
right.
expire at different times during the year.
Well, so the bottom line is that in January, if they don't pass these spending bills that they have set aside and said that have to pass by January, voila, the government shuts down, right? And if they pass them, then we go to February. And if those spending bills aren't passed, again, the government shuts down. And the thing is that they want that. I mean, look, I'm sure everybody, I wish we could show a clip of it, but I'm sure everybody has seen it. The Chip Roy rant on the House floor, where he says, just show me one thing I can take back and to my constituents and tell them that we've done. And I mean, it's a great ad for Democrats.
Yeah.
But his point wasn't that they passed substantial legislation. His point, the thing that made him angry was they didn't shut down the government. That's what he was mad about. Right? That's what he wanted. He wanted a government shutdown. He said, and
Oh,
he says that later in the speech. So you just like sit back and the thing that you
Which
take
is
away
also
from
a good
all of
ad
this.
for the Democrats.
Oh, it's a great ad for the Democrats, but it's like Republicans can't govern. That's the takeaway
no,
that you get
no.
from all of this is that Republicans are a permanent minority because they don't know how to govern when they're and interestingly, like I'm not sure which one of our favorite Democrats, I'm not sure who it was, but said, listen, when Nancy Pelosi was speaker, we had all the appropriation bills done and out of committee by August. And that gave us, because the fiscal year end is in September, so that gave us time to debate everything and move it forward and get it done. And so the point being that there is a pathway to actually doing the right thing, they just don't
Mhm.
want to do it.
No.
And I mean, they shut down for the entire month of August. They weren't there for 6 weeks. So boo-hoo. But I mean, I think we're just delaying the government shutdown until February. I think,
February.
which is in some ways good. I mean, we don't want people traveling over the holidays without traffic and air traffic
Yes, without
controllers.
the FAA.
Government workers will have their Christmas.
Right.
Another problem with the continuing resolution that passed is that there was nothing in there for funding for Ukraine or Israel.
Right. For all the lip service they give,
Right.
they don't.
Everything is at current levels, which is good.
Yeah, I
But
mean, current levels do offer some funding, but Biden
right,
has asked for supplemental funding, and
right,
that's what he's
right,
not getting.
right.
And so for they stand there and beat their chests about Israel and how they support them, but they don't support them. They don't support any of it. I mean, it's just they can't govern. They and seriously, we have to have the House and the Senate back so that we
Yeah.
can actually get some shit done. And when we're not going to get like the numbers that we had in the Senate with Obama, where we had, we may never get that again. I don't know.
It's a tough map.
Yeah,
It's a tough map. We were going to we talked about this last week. We were going to lose
Yeah,
mention anyway.
right.
yeah.
But it's a tough map.
It is a tough map, but I believe that Tester and Brown are less at risk than everybody thinks they are. I mean,
I hope.
Ohio's been
I hope.
red leaning for a long time,
Yeah.
right? And Sherrod Brown was elected last time, and it wasn't a presidential year when he
Right.
was
Is it
elected.
how many terms has Brown been senator?
Don't know.
I
While.
think this is his third. It's either his
Really?
second or his third. Yeah.
Okay.
So, because he was senator through Obama, so I think he's in his third term right now. Is
Okay.
what I think. So he's I think he's safer than we think he is, but we shouldn't sleep on him.
No.
Obviously
No.
none of this, but I just think that if what we need to do is aim at pickups from the
Yes.
Republicans
From
wherever
the
we
other
can.
places, yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
So
how great would it be if Gloria Johnson could beat Marsha Blackburn?
Wouldn't that be awesome?
right. And like any chance on God's green earth that Colin Allred could beat Ted Cruz?
You know, I don't. Here's my problem.
Texas is such
It's
a mess.
Texas.
Yeah.
That and Texas, I think probably cheats.
Yeah. In fact, didn't Abbott admit to cheating in the last
Yeah, I
election?
think he did.
Yeah.
And and we've not heard.
No consequences.
Yeah, right. I mean, Beto O'Rourke like worked his butt off in Texas
Yeah.
and everything. Can Colin Allred win? Maybe. I
I
don't
mean,
know. I mean,
apparently Cruz is more interested in his podcast these days
right.
than being a member of the Senate.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's true. He likes being a celebrity.
I mean,
Yeah.
I see Allred ads everywhere.
But you're a Democrat.
I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't know. He's probably got a better chance of it than Beto O'Rourke did
Mm-hmm.
because he's more conservative. So he'd be on
I'll
the
take a
conservative.
conservative Dem in Texas.
Yeah, I mean, same. I'll take
Yeah.
a Dem in Texas at this point.
Yeah, any
So,
Dem. Yeah. As long
and it
as he's
looks
not a
like
fake Dem.
if Kirsten Sinema is going to run as an independent in Arizona, then it looks like that will not be as big a problem, since Carrie Lake will probably be the nominee for the Republicans.
Yeah, I don't think any Democrats will vote for Sinema after
I don't
this
think so
last
either.
term. And so then you've got the independents.
Right.
But I don't think the independents are going to go for Carrie Lake. So
Exactly. So, but those aren't I mean, that's not a pickup, right? Because we
no,
already, well,
no.
it sort of is.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, if we lose Sinema to an actual Democrat like Ruben Gallegos, that's a pickup.
I'll do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a pickup. So, we're defending in Nevada.
Yeah.
That's always, that can
That
go
is scary.
either way.
Karoli, you and I may just have to go take up, rent a place together in Vegas or something and work Nevada. Help work.
Right.
I'll go in on that.
Yeah. That'll be our MOMocrats
an
trip.
Airbnb for the month for the summer in 2024.
I like Vegas.
Yeah.
Or Reno.
Whatever. So, I mean, anyway, the bottom line is that it seems to me that that Republicans are giving us a great roadmap for how to win, right? Because all we have to say is, look what they're not doing.
Well, yeah.
Right? They can't do this. They can't.
They won't.
And Donald Trump will be on trial. It looks like in March.
Yeah.
And Fani Willis just, requested a trial date in August on her case. It's going to be like a week or two right after the Republican National.
The documents case will be the one that gets pushed.
Of course, because loose cannon is a loose cannon.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she's working for the Trump defense on that one.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, speaking of which, there's no charges being brought against Biden for his classified documents.
That's right.
I'm shocked.
I know, aren't you? I'm shocked too.
Well, once again, the Biden people discovered their documents and they notified DOJ. Mike Pence discovered his and notified the FBI.
Right.
Trump denied having his, hid his, moved them around, showed them to random people all over the place, tried to get
endangered national security.
Yeah. I mean, there's a big difference. What I want to know is, what I don't understand is why, if there's going to be no charges, are they interviewing Hunter on it?
I mean, if I had to take a wild guess, it would be, did you use any of these documents in your work with Ukraine? And all he has to say is no, and that's the end of that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that would be my guess as to why they're interviewing Hunter. Who the hell knows?
It just doesn't.
I just want to shout out Hunter Biden for being bold enough to put an op-ed in the Washington Post a couple of weeks ago saying, look, I have my weaknesses. I'm bad. Don't demonize me. Basically.
I missed that. How did I miss that? Oh my God.
I'd like to look that up and find it.
Yeah. It's a great op-ed. He's done. He's over it. And he's on the offense.
Well, didn't he subpoena Bill Barr and who else?
Did. Yeah, he's on the definitely on the offense.
Bill Barr and who else? One other.
I don't remember. Somebody good though.
Yeah.
So
good for him. Yeah.
Lindsey Graham, was that the other one?
Now we're gonna have to look it up, aren't we?
Yeah.
Who did Hunter Biden subpoena?
Or Rudy?
I feel like it wasn't Lindsey Graham.
Subpoena Trump. He asked the judge to subpoena Trump.
Yeah. Subpoenaed Bill Barr.
Yeah, he did Bill Barr, other Justice Department officials.
Okay.
So
I thought there was one other big name, but
yeah, maybe.
Jeffrey
But I
Rosen,
mean,
Richard Donahue.
those are pretty big names in the DOJ.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I was thinking more along the Rudy Giuliani line, but
Yeah. Well, I mean, the
okay, good
point
enough.
is he's on the offensive, which is
Yeah,
great.
good for
That's where he
him.
needs to be. I am
Yep.
so tired of every time they don't have anything to talk about, Fox News, that you can see it on the Chiron. What about Hunter Biden? I mean, it's just like I have the 4-screen split, so I get
Oh
Fox
God, how can you
News.
handle that?
Well, it's just because I don't have to listen. So I have Fox
I
News,
know.
CNN, MSNBC, and BBC down here, right? And Jesse Waters and Laura Ingalls always have the worst chyrons. They're just the worst. They make me want to throw something.
I get the Decoding Fox News newsletter, and every week she does a comparison, bar chart that
Who
shows
writes
the
that?
amount of time. What's her name?
I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
I forgot her name, but she issues a bar chart
Uh-huh.
that compares how much time was spent on different topics on Fox News compared with PBS NewsHour.
Uh-huh.
And every week, there's a huge amount that's just Hunter Biden and another one that's Biden bashing. And then she runs down all the things PBS NewsHour covered that Fox News did not.
Yeah.
And it's no wonder that people who watch Fox are less informed than people who don't follow the news at all.
Yeah, exactly. Because they're misinformed on Fox.
Right.
Kat Abu is her name.
That's it. She's
Yeah.
great.
Okay.
Yeah.
She's great.
Yeah, she's very good. So anyway, it's just, but we should probably talk about all the trials. So we know that the Cannon trial is going to get basically the Biden or the Trump documents is the one that's going to get pushed off. And we know that because she slid all the deadlines to March, like the day before the trial in Washington, D.C. starts.
Yeah.
And with those deadlines slid, there's really no way that they can be ready for trial.
Yeah.
Right.
And I really need to protest that because the trial is still set for my birthday. And I wanted that to be my birthday present.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
that would
that's
be
annoying.
Fun. So then they filed for mistrial in New York, which, the news channels made a big effing deal out of this. They just like, oh, he filed for mistrial. But honestly, it was just like one of those Hail Mary, do the thing, you're not going to get it. It's make a record. So, and indeed it was denied today.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then there's a hearing. So Judge Chutkan's gag order was lifted. Is it Chutkan's that was lifted? I thought it was
Engoron's was lifted.
Yeah.
Engoron's that was
lifted.
Okay.
So his gag order was lifted, but only till it can be argued before the full appeals court. So it's not lifted like Trump won. It's just lifted like until we have the whole court hear this case, we're not going to enforce this order.
Right. And then immediately Jason Miller started in on his law clerk again.
Right. What they already really done dirty, in my opinion.
This is going in the New York State.
That motion for mistrial.
The appeals court or the Supreme Court? That's the same thing in New York.
Appeals court, I thought.
I thought it was the appeals court. Okay. But yeah.
Okay.
So they had already violated the order by filing the motion for mistrial. They named names. They put pictures of her in their motion. They put, all kinds of stuff that like personal information about her in that filing. That filing was not meant to get a mistrial. That filing was meant to slam her and to aim at her. And that's what it did, because it's a public filing. And so this is the way they fight. They're just dirty, ugly human beings, if you can even put them in the human being category.
Yeah.
So, okay. So there's that.
Do we want to talk about Republican Congressional Fight Club?
Yes.
were we done with the trials? Did we go down all of
Yeah,
them?
I think we're done with all the trials. I don't think we
Okay.
have anything else. So
So hard to keep track.
I just want to circle back to the dysfunction
Yeah.
in both the House and the Senate.
Yeah.
yeah,
You know,
Republican dysfunction.
right.
Yeah,
It's not just dysfunction; it's Republican
It is
dysfunction.
Republican dysfunction. They are fighting amongst themselves.
In the span of
Like
15
literally.
Right. In the span of 15
Oh,
minutes,
God.
we had 3 incidents happen. So
Yeah.
first we have Mark Wayne Mullen from Oklahoma, right? Choosing out and I will never not be amused by this, right? The head of the Teamsters Union. Hey, buddy,
Of all the people, of all
stand
the
your
people,
butt up. You stand your butt up.
Didn't like Sean
O'Brien.
His last? Is it O'Brien? He did not like Sean O'Brien's tweets.
Yeah. That's
About
he was offended by his tweets. He has short guy syndrome. I mean, there's a picture of him.
he's got little dick syndrome. I'm
Yes,
sorry.
But he is a former mixed martial arts.
You know what? He did mixed
professional.
martial arts for literally 10 minutes.
Right.
Really? Is
And
that
he
all?
got his ass kicked
2007 and
in
2008.
round 3. He got his ass kicked in round 3 and never went back.
Yeah.
He is
that's
not a mixed
funny.
martial arts
That's
fighter. Okay.
Funny.
So he's got such little dick energy. He wears 3-inch heels to appear taller. It is.
He and Ron DeSantis can compare
I was
their.
gonna say, they must go to the same shoe shop,
Right.
So anyway, go ahead.
No, I mean, so that in 15 minutes, these things happened. So first we had Mark Wayne Mullen, and then we had
and Bernie Sanders had to rein them in.
Right. Bernie Sanders is like
120-year-old Bernie Sanders had to pull his grandpa act and say, "Sit down, you're a United States senator." I know.
Right. It was just incredibly stupid. Okay, and so then we had the House. Somebody else want to talk about the House?
Who was it? Burchett?
Yes, it was Burchett. This happened, like I said, in the span of 15 minutes.
Right.
So it was
Kevin McCarthy, right?
Right, but he's giving an interview to NPR in the hallway.
Kevin McCarthy
comes and just jabs him in the kidneys, walks away.
And he's like, "Why'd you do that?" I mean, this is all on tape, so it's not. The best part of this was Kevin McCarthy denying it. Right? If I had kidney punched him, he would have gone down. Like, oh, excuse me,
okay,
big
Mr.
man.
Tough guy. Okay.
Yeah. And everything.
What it comes down to, and I just love reading it, is that nobody likes Kevin McCarthy.
Right.
No.
They all hate him.
Yeah.
The Democrats hate him. The Republicans hate him because he was double dealing. He was talking out of both sides of his mouth, and he would, he's mealy mouthed. He had no integrity at all.
Well, it's the only way he got to be
what
speaker.
Republican does.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like, oh, you hate Kevin McCarthy because of this, but none of you have any integrity. I mean, Tim Burchett was one of the 8 that voted to get him out, and with Matt Gaetz and all the rest. So, okay, and he was blowing, in my opinion, he was blowing it way up out of proportion. Like, he elbowed me, mommy. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, I'm being interviewed by this reporter and he elbowed me. Maybe he did, but I don't think it was like whack. I mean, I think it was more like, shoved him out of the way kind of thing, but it was just enough to blow it up and make it a big deal. And nobody likes Kevin McCarthy, but they already have their knives out for Mike Johnson.
Yeah.
Over the CO.
Well, again, the reason that they used to challenge McCarthy was, letting Democratic votes save their asses. And so then Mike Johnson does the same thing.
Right.
And he's in his so-called honeymoon period right now.
There's no honeymoon. That was like an 8-second thing and then it's over. So, I mean, like Steve Bannon's like, throw him overboard and get the next one. That was him, President Steve Bannon. So
master politician.
Right. and everything. So if Mike and Mike Johnson actually did do the right thing. I don't like his CR, okay, but he did the right thing because we don't want traffic controllers working without pay over the holidays.
Government shutdowns hurt everyone.
Everybody. Yeah.
You know, this is no way to run the most powerful country in the world. This
Right.
is, you don't shoot your economy in the foot by shutting down the government.
Right.
Right.
And the system needs to change so that this cannot constantly be a threat. You
I
know,
agree.
I mean, Newt Gingrich ushering in the era of no compromise. This is the logical end zone of 30 years of that. It
It
was
is.
bullshit then, it's bullshit now.
Right. Only it's biting them in the ass because Newt Gingrich wanted all the Republicans to stick together and not compromise with the Democrats. But now
Mhm.
what's happening is that they are so fractured, Republicans are so fractured that they're not compromising with each other. And they have all these, he wasn't anticipating this wacko QAnon MAGA wing coming up and, totally, turning the Republican Party into the clown car that it is now.
Well, they always had that wing, but they used to keep them in the fringe.
Yeah.
And now
Yeah,
they have the power.
yeah,
Well, I mean,
Republican media grew the fringe so that now it's the base.
right.
yeah.
Fox
Thanks, Rupert
News.
Murdoch.
Yeah,
Thank
Fox
you,
News
Rush Limbaugh.
now. And yeah, Rush Limbaugh, and now we have OANN, and we have all the Ted Cruz and his little podcast, and the media landscape is also so fractured that people can get they can basically pick what they want to hear and live in a
Yeah.
bubble.
So I mean, like Newt Gingrich 30 years ago. I doubt he was anticipating not to rehabilitate him. He's a total piece of shit, and
Yeah, don't rehabilitate him. He's
I'm
still
not, but I'm
yeah.
just saying, this is what I'm saying this is why it's come back and bite the Republicans in the ass. He's getting, worse than what he was hoping for, which, I mean, good. I wouldn't be sad if the entire party crashed and burned.
Same.
But
Same.
As long as
honestly,
something worse doesn't rise up in its place.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I occasionally will hear the very generous, benevolent, Democrats say, we need two parties. We need a sane Republican Party or whatever. And I'm like, I
They
don't.
need a sane adversary. There is value to arguing points of view.
There is.
Yeah, but I don't believe there's value in a party that, at its core believes that, has their core values hold entire segments of the population, with lesser, humanity and, fewer rights than others. And, where
Well,
their core
yeah,
values involve oppression, which is what the Republican Party is.
But they
So,
should but they're still your fellow citizens and they should have their right to have their voice heard.
well, yeah, I mean, that's fine. But I just, I don't know.
They shouldn't be in power, but they
yeah,
have their right to
I
have
think
their
not,
voice heard.
but
They have their right to vote.
they do.
But information
I'm not arguing they shouldn't vote. I'm just
needs.
saying, I would rather, certain
They don't
things
want
should
us
not
to
be
vote.
up for debate. And, the value of one's humanity and, the right to oppress somebody else, is not one of them.
I agree. I think we can
Yep.
agree on that.
Yep.
So,
I think we can too. So let's see, what do we have left here? Oh, well, we have the APEC summit. We kind of touched on
We,
that,
we,
but
we touched on that because we talked
Mhm.
about, Joe Biden's comments at his
Yeah,
press conference, and we talked about how it looks like we made progress,
Yeah.
diplomatic progress. Once again, the diplomacy of this administration has been first rate. I mean, the
I agree.
problems in the world that the Biden team has had to navigate. I mean, this is the most fraught period of time I can remember.
Yeah. I do take some encouragement out of the fact that Iran said that they don't want to be involved in what's going on between Hamas.
That's
And
good.
I mean that's progress in the right,
Yeah.
it's moving in the right direction for them to say that. So I don't know what kind of levers were placed on them, but whatever it was, I'm glad that it happened, and
Yeah.
that's definitely a product of the diplomacy that we
Yeah.
have. What's happening right now in Gaza is I want Hamas to be gone, but I don't want it to be at the cost of so many innocent human beings. There
It
has to be a better way. There has
it's
to be, and it's gonna, if it takes Netanyahu being gone and somebody else doing it, fine. I want Hamas,
Netanyahu needs to be gone.
yeah. I want Hamas gone too.
Yeah.
And I don't think, I think realistically that until Hamas is gone, Netanyahu is not gonna be gone. I think
And and realistically, what's going to happen is we're going to see a lot more civilian deaths.
I'm afraid so.
And it's stomach churning.
It is.
And it's really hard because you can hold two thoughts in your head
Yeah.
at the same time, but it's theoretical for us. We're not the ones being bombed.
Yeah. And I guess it's the hospitals that bother me the most.
Yeah.
And not just the bombs, but that there's no water, there's no electricity. So the like little kids in the NICU units, babies are dying and old people are dying, and I don't know, just that just seems wrong to me. It seems like that's not right. I understand the argument that the hospital has tunnels and that the Hamas is in the tunnels, and I get that. And I want, like I said, I want Hamas gone, but
Lisa, you're
Israelis
very
are,
quiet.
yeah, Israelis are very skilled at warfare. They all train and everything, and there has to be a better way than dropping bombs on hospitals. There has to be. With that said, I don't know what it is. So, and I'll leave it there because that's all I have. I'm gonna let Aliza talk. You can talk me out of it.
I'm not going to talk you out of it.
Mm, okay.
All I know, it was gratifying to see such a large demonstration in DC
Yes,
this week.
it was
And then I saw that Hagee was a speaker.
one of them.
And he was, I mean, it was a whole range of speakers, but the only reason Hagee is supporting Israel is because he wants Armageddon.
Right.
Several of them are like that, but it's, when you look at the range of speakers that spoke, they put it together in a week practically.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna quibble over that. Um, I mean, he was nauseating, but everybody else, for the most part, I mean, even Mike Johnson wasn't that objectionable. Um, Hakeem Jeffries was fire as
Oh,
always.
he's wonderful.
Um, but I mean, as you know, they are, the Israeli army is bringing incubators into the hospitals. They are bringing water into the hospitals. They are, trying to give them electricity. They are trying.
Okay. Well, that's good. I'm glad
That's
to hear
not.
it.
They're not denying. They don't want civilians to die. But
But it's
you,
war. People
it's war.
die.
Yeah,
It's
it
war,
is.
and
And they didn't start it.
in no other situation is the country that is attacked tasked with keeping the enemy's infrastructure working.
Well, okay.
Keeping the enemy's electricity on and keeping this is war.
But okay, but I got just interject one thing here, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, and if I want to be wrong. Okay, so and that is that the control over that infrastructure was in Israel. It was not in Gaza. In other words, they controlled the flow of electricity, they controlled the flow of water, they controlled all those things, and they shut them off. That's what I was led to believe. If that's not true, then I'm glad. I don't want it to be true. So that's the thing.
If the desalination plants are in Gaza,
Mm-hmm.
the 80% of the water is in Gaza.
Okay.
But the power, the energy to run the
energy
plants.
to run the plants comes from Israel.
There you go.
So again, when Israel is attacked, why is it Israel's responsibility to make sure that the country that attacks it still, okay, we'll still give you electricity while you rape and murder our citizens?
Well,
What, I mean, why? Just explain to me why. I mean, that yes, I mean, innocence. When you declare war on us, what obligation do I have to make sure you still have electricity?
so I'm not familiar with the war conventions, but I mean,
The war conventions are that you do not target that you don't target civilians. But once the Geneva Convention says and the ICC says that once a hospital is shown to be used for a war activity by the combatants like Hamas is using, it no longer receives the protection. That's the war crime on the part of the Gazans. On the part of Hamas, I'm sorry, not the Gazans. Of course, the civilians, unless they're participating in it, but of course, like obviously the patients and stuff have not,
right.
but that's on Hamas. And so the hospital loses that protection.
Okay.
It is a war crime to target a hospital. Okay. But Hamas was using that hospital as a military depot.
Yeah.
And that means that it has lost that protection.
Okay. That makes sense.
It does.
And as awful as it is, it's war. It's not genocide, it's war.
No, it's not genocide, and that
And
word.
I just need to say that I'm not I know you didn't say that, but
Yeah. No, it's not. I mean, it is.
and
Yet.
But I mean,
it
genocide has a
won't be. I mean,
specific
if you've seen, when they finally reached the South and under the protection of the Israeli army, the thousands of Gazans that finally made it south,
we're allowed to go, right?
got to go holding white flags, and they were fed, they were cared for, they were taken care of, and they're furious at Hamas.
So
they're furious.
But if Netanyahu has his way, it would be a genocide.
So
Netanyahu has to go, and they got to take care of him at the ballot box. And P.S. people have been in the streets for the last 8 months trying to get rid of Netanyahu.
Yeah.
right.
Mostly because of the judicial coup, but also mostly because of this awful right-wing government that is like, not just because of the judicial coup, but also because of what they're,
Yeah.
perpetrating in the West Bank, and all these, and all these extremist, fucked up religious settlers who were, pushing the Palestinians there out and committing violence there against Palestinians. P.S. The Israelis in Gaza were these liberal, peace-loving, working with the Palestinians in Gaza and trying to build bridges. And those are the ones that got slaughtered.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just, if you read the accounts of what happened, it's
horrifying,
harrowing. And so yes, it's Netanyahu has to go, but he's not going to go right now because Israel's a democracy and he's in power. So what do what?
And they're at war.
And they're at war.
And that's the reason.
Sorry, but we had Trump for 4 years. And it sucked. And we threw him out. And we had an insurrection. And we're dealing with that and the ramifications of it too. It's awful.
It is awful.
So awful, but in my mind, the only way this gets resolved is for Hamas to completely surrender. And I mean, that's really that. So and I say that
people are going to die before that happens.
It's true. People. And I say that because anything else is not going to work. I mean, it's just not. We've been through this too many times where there's a ceasefire and then they regroup and they come back and they start it again.
Hamas has
and then there's another ceasefire and they come back and they start it again.
As we said weeks ago when this began, that Israel had no good options.
Right.
And so they are pursuing the one that they think will rid them of the Hamas threat, at least temporarily.
Yeah.
And that is the option.
And again, like, what is the response to a slaughter like the one Hamas perpetrated?
Yeah.
What is the response? Diplomacy?
No, I don't think it's. I'm
not asking you.
When they refuse to give back the hostages.
I mean, I think that the response has to be this movement, or I mean, there's been problems in Gaza for a long time. There's been that, ever since Hamas basically took over and there's not been any elections and nobody, so it's been an authoritarian.
And Netanyahu encouraged it.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
It served him.
At the very least, he looked the other way so that they could do settlements in the West Bank.
Yeah.
And everything. So, I mean, it's been going on for a long time. It's not going to untangle easily.
No.
I do think that without actually defeating Hamas this time and finding some neutrality in Gaza and the West Bank, for that matter, that's the only way we're going to untangle this. It really is. And I hear you, Aliza. I think that for most people that I've talked to, it's the scale of the civilian deaths that is the most worrisome. And that's why we have all these calls for ceasefires and everything else, is because, and that's going to happen with any war. I mean, I remember being out on the corner for the Iraq war, after, and of course that was not.
But that was different.
That was a stupid war.
That was very different.
Yeah. And I remember also protesting Afghanistan and going after bin Laden with the war. I mean, I thought it would have been better in that case to do targeted strikes.
And our protests didn't do any good either.
No, it didn't change anything. So
those wars went on for decades.
Right. So I guess, I mean, I think we agree on the basics, which is that Hamas has to go, that Netanyahu has to go at some point.
And we agree that Israel has a right.
Yes, we do.
To defend itself and to strike back.
Right. That's not in question for me anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a mess is what it is. And I'm grateful that Iran's not going to get involved in it or really be a clusterfuck. So, hopefully it can stay limited and maybe successful without, causing World War III.
Well,
yep.
Let's see. We have like 10 seconds. We're going over today.
Okay.
On a lighter note,
Yes.
Marjorie Taylor Greene has a memoir coming out.
Really?
And she claims that when she talked about Jewish space lasers, it was a joke.
Oh, God.
And that, oh, no. And that she gave money to Israel to build the Iron Dome. So, in a way, those are the Jewish space lasers.
Oh, dear Lord.
Why is she writing a memoir? Who cares? Really?
Who's interested in her life?
Who the hell cares? Right? And while we're on is George Santos going to be next with his memoir?
Oh,
I can't wait to read that.
My name is president of
is that grifting liar. What else is he going to have while he is waiting to be tried on charges? Because charges have to come after what the ethics committee.
Did you guys talk about before I got here that he's not running for re-election?
No,
this is our first mention of George Santos.
Okay, so well, there's that he's not running for, talking about things that you're thankful for.
Well, of course he's not running because he's going to be in prison.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
so only Trump, at least he's got that foresight. If only Trump had the foresight to realize.
We didn't realize the extent of his grift until this report came out. And so basically he was getting money from like some big rich people in Florida. And then he was running it through this shell corporation that had like a negative $7 balance until he got $250,000 at the first try. And then,
oh my God,
and then another, 500. So this came from this one family, basically in Florida, that put this money in his business, and then his business gave the money to the campaign, which it's not allowed to do. It was supposed to be him personally that did that and everything. And then he was spending it on stuff like shopping spree at Ferragamo and OnlyFans and
Botox injections and Sephora and
well, he's got to keep his, his drag queen lifestyle
in Atlantic City.
Right. Yeah, right. Johnston, Atlantic City. I mean, like basically what he saw was a bunch of money. Cool. What can I do with it? And then he has a campaign, American Express. So he just went to town.
Yeah.
With it. And, his not bookkeeper, she's something else. The person that kept track of the campaign finances has already pled guilty to fraud.
Oh,
so, yeah.
Ouch.
So he's going to be next.
Yeah. Dude should just step down, but he won't. Announced that I'm not going to run in 2024.
Run for re-election. He's not going to step down though.
Talk about a plate of grievance, though, man. This was a 500-word tweet that he puts out, right, about how he's so persecuted and so they're coming after him, blah blah blah, doing the Trump shuffle.
Well, don't you know that his mother died in Auschwitz and in the 9/11?
Yeah, died twice.
Right. His Jewish mother, but he's doing DNA so that he can prove it, but he hasn't revealed the DNA. So
yeah. I'm glad that we're ending on a lighter note.
Yeah, sorry about
It's going to be fun to see him get ejected.
Yeah,
it is big fun. I mean, and it's going to be.
Where's the trebuchet when you need it, right?
What?
I said, where's the trebuchet when you need it?
Yeah. We need more, more of them to be tossed out, actually. Yeah. So, we can
it's bad if an ethics committee led by Republicans.
Right. And they introduced the motion to expel him. It's just that they're out now
That's
until
right.
after Thanksgiving. The reason they're
Right.
out till after Thanksgiving is because Mike Johnson said maybe if they go home for Thanksgiving, they'll cool off and
Mm.
come back and cooler heads can prevail, because right now everybody's just like, it's Republican Fight Club, it's just
Yeah, well,
ridiculous.
They'll go home and pray on it.
yeah,
Yeah.
evil Stephen Colbert just doesn't really understand his caucus.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh, shoot. Anyway,
Well,
yes.
that's
So,
it. That is our show. I'm glad that we ended on a lighter note.
And
We
yeah.
will be
laughing.
off next week enjoying our Thanksgiving leftovers.
Yes.
Yes.
Join us the following Friday on YouTube, momocrats.buzzsprout.com, or on your favorite podcast service such as iTunes, Google, and Amazon Music. And be sure to check our Facebook page for updates. I'm Donna
right.
Schwartz Mills with my beloved Karoli and Aliza, and we're saying bye for the MOMocrats. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
MOMocrats, Mama Chats, part of the Demcast family of podcasts.